The first and only Scandinavian heavyweight champion of the world was Ingemar Johannsen. Listen to Lars Ottoson's reflection on him.
Ingemar Johannsen, born in Göteborg, and a little bit of a troublemaker as a young boy. And he did his military service in the Navy, and that's where he was introduced to boxing. He was in a couple of brawls, and then his commanding officer thought, now we better teach this boy a little bit of boxing, and he could sort of take him off the street fights. And he became our top amateur boxer, Swedish champion, and he went to the Olympics in Helsinki, where he got disqualified for non-boxing. Coming back from Helsinki, he decided to go professional, because there was a man in Gothenburg called Edvin Ahlqvist, who was a promoter for fighters, a very honest, straightforward and good man, and he saw a lot in Ingemar, and he was the one that presented the name Thor's hammer of Ingemar Johannsen's right hand. And they made him train right, eat right, do right. And Ingemar rose to the top and became European champion. And everybody in Europe believed that this was one of the greatest fighters that time in the world. And this was, I think, 1957, 58. It was an American boxer called Eddie Mason, who was the #1 challenger. He was going to meet Floyd Patterson about the World Championships. He was just going on a little business to Europe first, training town. He was going to meet some European clot called Ingemar Johannsen in Gothenburg, and then he was going to go back. And so he did. He came to Gothenburg and he climbed the ring, and it took 1 minute and 10 minutes, and Eddie Mason was on the floor. And that was, of course, not what people had reckoned with, especially not those who bought big ringside tickets and didn't even get a seat. So automatically then, Ingemar came up as a challenger. And it was set for a fight in June 1959. Ingemar flew over with the whole of his family and stayed up in the Catskills. He put his training camp and he became very popular. What I liked especially about Ingemar is his great feeling for his family. Mm-hmm. He is actually, if you think about it, the last white world champion in boxing. And as a real champion.
Right.
Old story, I happened to be living in the same city as Ingemar. We did a lot of living together. I asked Ingemar, what about your friends, etc. He says, you see, I have good friends and I have bad friends. I have good friends like you. Come over here, we talk over there. But you see, about maybe once a month or so, I need my bad friends. He says, there might be some used car salesman or something like that, he said, in another town. And I go and I see them. And we go out and we just roll our heads and hats for 3 days, he says. We sing, drink, beer, chase girls, do everything we can for 3 days until I'm totally out. Then I go home and meet my good friends. And I said, how do you? It's like, you know, he said, I am to me. And then she said, and I found a philosopher, and he said, Lars, I have nothing that I've done in my work, my whole life, I have done nothing but smacking people in the head. What do they expect? Huh? A Harvard professor? And then he laughed and went
Tell
on.
the story of how you became the broadcaster for the Johannsen fight.
Oh, I had done some broadcasting in 1948 doing the Olympics for Sweden over the Swedish service of the BBC. I had a couple of hours a day that I was broadcasting. All the various sports, anything from soccer to boxing. And this fight with Ingemar was going to take place. Sweden wanted to listen to it, and the Swedish state radio didn't want to send it because it was immoral. Professional fighting is immoral. Mm-hmm. So then Philips company in Sweden, which is the big equivalent to Norelco here, decided to send this fight over the Radio Luxembourg. And they needed someone to do the direct broadcast. I reckoned very rapidly that I was basically the only one who's ever done direct broadcast in my sports in Sweden, outside of the Swedish state radio. So I called up the head of the Swedish Philips, who happened to know, and said, I see you got me a job. He said, what job? With the fight? I said, why should I do that? I said, because there isn't anyone else around who've done it. That's roughly the cover. And we then formed a program. We had to have a broadcast from New York for a full week to teach the Swedes how to tune in to Radio Luxembourg, so they were really on the station at this very night. America has a habit of creating jobs. Sweden has a habit of cutting them. Or something that. Anyway, the broadcast went very well, and I remember I climbed the ring, and no one was allowed up in the ring. Howard Cosell, he just jumped up. Everybody knew Howard Cosell, right? So he went up with the mic. And of course, no one knew me. And I came with my microphone up. So I remember Johansson, Ottoson. So I took up my passport and I put my thumb over Otto in Ottoson. And I just showed it and I said, I'm Ingmar's brother. I'm going to go. Oh, they said, Mr. Johannsen. I went up with the microphone. Because otherwise I couldn't explain to them the Swedish broadcasting, etc. Sure. They want the identification of that. So I thought that was the...
Ingemar Johannsen scores a third-round knockout victory over Floyd Patterson to win the World Heavyweight title. Ingemar becomes the first foreign-born heavyweight champion since Primo Canera won the title a quarter of a century ago. A very happy Ingemar is congratulated by his handlers.
Do you remember that?
Oh, I haven't seen that since 60, 61, when they still were playing it. The Swedish movie houses, etc. Yes, 40 years since I saw that fight.
Brings back memories.
Ingemar didn't have that fight home or anything. He never had anything. So that was really something. And with a treasure at home, I have a picture that is, as they're making a film about him, they have a picture of Ingemar Johannsen standing between Howard Cosell and myself.
I'll be darned.
He is still probably the most popular figure Sweden has ever had.